Hey, I'm Rob from JestaThaRogue.com and I'm going to show you how to play Wildtails, A Pirate Legacy. This is a game for 1 to 2 players, plays in about 30 minutes per game, is designed by Dustin Dobson and Milan Zivkovic and is published by Buttonshy. Wildtails is a legacy game where players play through chapters of a campaign to complete objectives and then defeat the threat to progress before the threat captures too many cards or time runs out. So in true legacy game style, why not permanently upgrade your life by hitting subscribe, or leave your permanent mark on the channel by hitting like and leaving a comment. This video will be spoiler free, showing only the setup for the first scenario. Also, as the only rule changes for 1 and 2 player is that you play either one character each or one player plays both characters, I'll refer to turns as character turns rather than player turns. The game does use a website for a campaign book, errata, etc. It's mostly used to help with chapter setup. There's a QR code in the rulebook, or just Google it and you'll find it eventually. There is also this. Don't look at all the hidden stuff in this sleeve until instructed by the campaign book. Also, don't use any side of a card with a visible padlock icon until you're asked to unlock it. More on that shortly. For Chapter 1 setup, click Start Campaign, read the prologue, click Start Campaign again, and go down to the prologue unlocks. Whenever you need to unlock anything, fill in the padlock with a pen or something to show that it is now unlocked and available. For Chapter 1, you do this for both the Anna and Samuel side of the character cards, as well as the Stronghold side of the Empire card, as instructed by the campaign book. Click Go to Chapter 1 and read the intro. Get the chapter's objectives and threat as shown in the campaign book. Put them on the table. For Chapter 1, this is the Raiders, Hideout and Explosives. Shuffle the remaining scenario cards scene side up. The side with a Roman numeral 1 in the bottom left. Keep the scene cards scene side up throughout the entire game. The top scene is known as the active scene. Find the threat's capture value. This is shown in the campaign book. Capture that many scene cards from the deck. And as you just saw, this is 0 in the first chapter, but as you'll be doing it during setup on future chapters, and you do it through the game anyway, let's look at how you capture cards. To capture a card, take the top card of the scene deck and slide it under the threat with the curse icon showing at the top. That's it, it's very easy. Place the pirate's log below the threat so the round indicator points to round 1. Each player takes a face-up unlocked character. Remember to take 2 if playing solo. The Empire card goes between the characters Stronghold side up. And you choose which character starts the game. The game is played over 7 rounds, each of 4 steps, and players take turns going through all of the steps. Step 1, check for crisis. If a threat triggers a crisis, resolve it now. A crisis triggers if the curse icon in the top right of the active scene is on the pirate log and lines up with the crisis icon on the threat card. I'll clear that up now with an example. So the threat icon on the top scene is purple. The purple threat icon on the pirate's log currently lines up with the hook icon on the threat card, so the hook threat will be resolved this turn. And let's look at what those threat icons do. The no entry is ignore, it does nothing, always a good one to get. For the dagger, capture the top card from the scene discard pile. The hook, discard the bottom card from the scene deck. The skull and crossbones have no effect in Chapter 1, so don't worry about them until later in the campaign. If the threat doesn't line up or can't be resolved for any reason, just ignore it, thank your lucky stars, and move on. If you do trigger a crisis and the scene card is not moved on the character's turn, the same crisis may well affect the next character on their turn. Step 2 is to take an action. They are to complete a scene, gain a level on an objective, attack the threat, or discard the active scene. Let's start at the top, and completing a scene will allow a character to gain resources. To complete a scene, you choose one of the events on the active scene. The top line with the 1 allows you to gain the resources for free. Find the edge of the card with a matching Roman numeral and resources which might be on the other side of the card. So number 1, recruit mercenaries, gives you the 2 sword resources. So turn the card to the number 1 side which has 2 swords, slide it under your character. Characters can hold any number of resource cards. The basic resources are the barrel, sword and the coin. The gem can count as any of these 3 basic resources. For numbers 2 and 3, you need to spend the resources in red to complete the event. To spend resources, pick a resource card on your character, and if you only spend some of the resources on the card, you set it aside. You can spend the rest of those resources later this turn. For example, ambush the military outpost requires a sword, so the 2 sword resources can be put aside to complete the scene and gain the resources on the new card. The other unspent sword can be used this turn. And if all resources on a card put aside this way are used, then you discard it. At the end of turn, you're going to discard any set aside cards anyway, and any unused resources will be lost. For the blue events, you need to succeed in a skill check. Skill checks are based on the character abilities. The feather is savvy, the fist is bravery, and the mask is deception. First, slide the top scene card down to reveal the curse icons on both cards. If the curse icons of the 2 cards match, you automatically fail the skill check. Whenever you fail a skill check, discard the active scene. If the crisis icons did not match, add the skill modifier shown next to the curse icon on the reveal card to the character's skill level. For example, Protect the Loot needs at least 8 in bravery to succeed. Anna has 5 in bravery and the skill modifier is 3. 5 plus 3 is 8. So this check succeeded and the character gains the resource as normal. When making a skill check, if there's only one scene in the deck, you set it aside, shuffle the discard pile into a new deck and put the set aside card back on top. If there's only one card in the deck but there are fewer than 2 cards in the discard pile, you won't be able to take any actions that involve a skill check. Because if there are no cards in the discard pile, you won't have enough cards to do a skill check, and if there's only one card in the discard pile, you'll be able to know what it is and see if you're going to pass the skill check before you take it, so no cheating. The second action is to gain 1 objective level. Pay the level up cost shown in red on the objective. Take an objective and align the top of the objective marker with the bottom of the character to show level 1. On future actions, characters can take the gain 1 objective level action to move the card up a level on their own objective. Each character can only have 1 objective at a time and each level unlocks several rewards. If under a checkmark, that reward is active for that character. Let's look at the rewards now, and the skill symbol lets you gain 1 or 2 of that skill permanently. A resource with a star is a permanent resource which is not discarded when spent and can be used once per turn on the owner's turn. The final symbol halves the requirement for eliminating the threat. More on that shortly. Very shortly. Like now. Well, first you need to know that an objective is only considered fully complete if you complete all 4 levels. The third action is, as promised, to attack the threat. Perform a skill check versus the threat's base skill plus 1 per card the threat has captured. So if they've captured 3 cards, the raiders will have a value of 8, 5 plus 3. If you win, discard all captured cards on the threat and discard the active scene. And if you don't win, just discard the active scene. And if both objectives have been completed when you defeat the threat, you will win the chapter, but I'll circle back to this when we talk about endgame conditions. The fourth action is to discard the active scene. Do just that. After a character has taken an action, they move to step 3 and may store resources. These may be moved from the character to under the Empire card. The Empire can only store 3 cards at most. This does mean that they are safe from a bomb crisis that forces a character to discard a resource they have. Step 4 is to check for end of round. If there are cards in the deck, the other character takes their turn, starting back at step 1, check for crisis. Remember, the active character will discard any partially spent resource cards at this point too. If you check for the end of the round and the scene deck is empty, you're going to set up a new round. To do this, shuffle the discard pile into a new deck, then capture 1 scene from the top of the new deck. Move the Pirate's log to the next round. If the Empire is fleet side up, flip it back over to the Stronghold side. And characters will always alternate turns, so even if step 4 you are setting up a new round, the other character will take their turn next. Characters can activate abilities on their character card or the Empire card at any time, even on the other character's turn. The only one we need to worry about right now is Smuggle. To smuggle, pay 1 of any resource, as denoted by the question mark, to take any number of resource cards from the Empire and put them under the character. If characters have completed both their objectives and then eliminate the threat, they win. Remember, both objectives must be complete when you defeat the threat in order to win the chapter. But if the threat captures 5 cards, the players haven't won by the end of round 7, or both the scenario deck and discard pile are both empty at the end of the round, as shown by this picture of an empty deck and discard pile, the players lose. Choose victory or defeat in the storybook and follow the instructions. Post-campaign, the game is still playable. Pick 2 random objectives, 1 random threat, capture up to 3 cards at the start of the game, depending on how difficult you want it to be, and crack on. And that's how you play Wildtails, A Pirate Legacy. Thanks for watching. Remember to like, share and subscribe and hit the notification bell so you know when a new video goes live. You can follow me on Twitch, Insta and YouTube at JestaThaRogue and find the blog at JestaThaRogue.com. I've been Rob aka JestaThaRogue. I'll see you soon.